When you grow up in the Appalachian mountain range, you grow up hearing stories, right? Ghosts, strange cryptids. You get these set of rules that you're told as a kid from your mama and your papa saying, hey, look, be careful in those woods. If you hear something, you didn't really hear it, right? Or if you see something, be sure you see what you think you see, right? Also, if somebody hollers at you or if you hear your name, you better take a minute before you yell back, right? And so as a kid, you grow up thinking like, hey, that's rules for everybody. That's rules for this. And then you go through a phase in your life, right, where you say to myself like, oh, my papa or my nanny was just, messing with us, right? When they say, hey, Joseph, don't go up in that part of the woods. There's an old hate up there, or there's something along those lines, right? Then you grow up and you leave. And then you meet other people in the world and you find out they didn't grow up like that at all. They didn't have those rules. They grew up in nice places and without things or having to be told to lock their windows or close their drapes at night, right? But then you go back and you start talking to other people in your adult phase and you start seeing things along the way. You start experiencing things along the way, right? And then you realize, well, you know what? There might be something here to it. And my guest tonight is making massive moves on the internet, doing exactly what I just talked about, looking into these strange things, right? Looking into these bumps in the nights. He's actually an Appalachian boy like myself. However, he has one talent that a lot of people don't. I'd like to introduce you to Brandon Gayheart, a 30-year professional investigator, law enforcement agent who is really, really blowing up, bringing a level-handed police look at these type of things, proving some wrong, proving a lot of them right. Brandon, thanks for coming on the show, big guy. How are you doing?
I'm awesome, dude. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. This is Brandon Gayheart. If you'd ever heard of his content, Brandon, first of all, can you just please give my Enigmites out there a little bit of information about who you are and, a little bit about your background?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I'm an Appalachian boy myself and from the heart of southeastern Kentucky. I have worked in law enforcement now for almost 26 years, so I've seen a few things, but I started social media with the paranormal stuff about 3 years ago, and it's opened a lot of doors, a lot of eyes, and that's why we're sitting here tonight.
That's why we're sitting here tonight, guys. So this guy right here is one of the current best, I would say, or an up-and-coming best content creator. He has a natural gift to it, right? And when you do what we do for long enough times, man, you not only do you enjoy people's content, you enjoy their style, their flair, right? And he is underselling himself. My man is sitting around 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think you're at 180,000 on TikTok alone, right? Or are you close to 1 million now?
TikTok, I think I'm like 515,000.
Right.
I think I have over 1 million on Facebook. It's somewhere up through there.
Bro, you're out there killing it, man. And again, man, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show, man. Hang out with me. I'll tell you a little funny story. I was actually, again, because people who follow my channel know that I don't sleep that much, right? And it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I was watching TikToks. I came across Brandon's content, was watching his stuff, sent him a message, and I called him Roger, and he was still nice enough to say that he agreed to come on the show. So yeah, Brandon, thank you. Thanks for that. I was super tired, man. But again, man, appreciate that heaps and heaps. So Brandon, guy, thank you so much, man. So I'm going to throw, again, Brandon goes on a lot of shows and just they have him tell like random stories, right? So tonight I think I'm going to do something a little bit different with him. I'm going to give him some directed conversation points, and I'm just going to let him, just basically vibe out and cook. So Brandon, man, if you don't mind, dude, what got you into doing this?
Well, I get asked that a lot, and part of me has known my entire life. I've always, from a small child, I had my first paranormal encounter at 4 years old. I knew somehow I belonged in this world. I just didn't know how. I'm not the person who usually wants to be in front of a camera. That's just not me. Right. But my best friend, a man by the name of Zach Hall, who has worked on shows like Expedition Bigfoot, Dirty Jobs with Micro. He currently works for Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTuber in the world. He kept for years trying to get me to start social media because he and I had done a lot of stuff together, paranormal, and we worked together. He was a former police officer. So just one day we sat down, we set up a TikTok account. And about 3 days later, he moved to North Carolina to work for Mr. Beast, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And so I'm like, well, I'm either going to have to learn. I thought TikTok was just a bunch of young kids dancing, which it is, but there's a place for everybody. And so, I just started telling stories, my experiences, and people started messaging me, telling me their experiences, sharing videos and pictures, and yeah, it just kind of took off.
Yeah, no, no, man, when it took off, man, it really took off. You have a very unique storytelling style, right?
Well, thank you.
And it's super like super. It's well put together from one creator to another, man. It's very well put together, right?
Thank
And
you.
again, and your boy, I don't know if he taught you that along the way, but he probably the best thing he did was just let you get out and just cook, man, because you're out there killing
Yeah.
it, right? So, were you always open to the paranormal since you were 4 years old, right? Or is it something that you leaned into, or was it something that I mean, we both grew up in the Appalachian Mountains,
Right.
man. So like, so was it always something new?
Well, like I said, I did have my first encounter at 4 years old, and that stuck with me. I think I was 12 or 13 the next time I had a paranormal encounter. But when I started law enforcement, almost 26 years ago, working night shift, going in buildings that were always rumored to be haunted, that's what made me a true believer. And after a while, it wasn't a question, is our ghost real? It's, what are ghosts? And so that's really what ignited the fire for me to keep pushing and keep going.
Would you mind sharing one of those experiences with you, man? Like the one that moved you the most, or you still one that still hangs on in your memory the most?
I could literally write a book, but one of the things that happened early on the night shift, I'd had a few weird things happen, but nothing I would say concrete. But I was working one night. I worked at this college. There's a small private college. Our police department also done security for the college, and we were tasked with walking through the buildings every night, locking up. They have a 12 a.m. curfew. And so I was doing that. I stepped inside of this one building. It's a 3-story building. On the 3rd floor at that time, there was a game room, had pool tables, arcade games, things like that. And as soon as I stepped into the stairwell on the 1st floor, I heard what sounded like a party going on. I could tell it was coming from the game room. And my thought was, you have a bunch of college kids, they're sneaking out late, partying, doing whatever. So I expected to find a bunch of kids, a bunch of booze, whatever. So I start slowly walking up the stairs. And as I get closer, it gets louder. People are laughing, talking. I can hear what sounds like a TV. Just a lot of noise. I'm fully convinced I'm going to find, a group of 10 or more people. And so when I finally get to the 3rd floor, I can see the doors going into the game room. And I have a master key to the building. So I get my key out, and my plan was I'm just going to try to sneak up and open the door slowly and just sling it open, and jump out and try to scare them. They're usually like a cat and mouse game between us and them.
Right.
So I do that. I get my key out and I walk up to the door. I stick it in there, grab the handle, and I sling the door open to find a empty room that's pitch black, no lights, no TV, nothing. That's those moments when you're like, okay, what happened, and what am I up here with now? So,
right.
So that one has stuck with me.
Wow. So yeah, man. Yeah, that would have a lasting impact on anybody right there. So have you ever been with another partner or anything like that when anything stuff like that happened before? Or has you always walked solo?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, my buddy Zach, I mentioned a moment ago, we worked together for probably 4 or 5 years. He and I used to have lots of encounters. Most of the people who worked at my department throughout the years, I have seen people quit because of this paranormal stuff that encountered at this college. Everybody that worked there, I would say 98% of all the people I've worked with for 26 years have had some kind of encounter.
Wow. So what do you? I mean, again, what do you think? What do you think it is? And this is probably like the most rudimentary question that people ask, but like it's actually when you boil it all down, like what do you think that is, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's what the question I get asked all the time. And my theory, a lot of people disagree with, which I'm fine with. I think it's good if we all can come to the table and talk about it. You tell what you believe, I tell what I believe, and that's how you grow. That's how you learn. But so something else very important about me, I am a devout Christian. So when I started actually investigating ghosts, paranormal. I was like, well, what does the Bible say about it? And the conclusion that I've drawn, and from personal experience, I believe these entities are demonic. I think they're very maniacal, mischievous, deceivers, liars, and that's what I think they are.
Yeah, the same with me, same with me, man. I'm a Christian as well, man, devout Christian. And when I look at the lens, I'm going to send you something afterwards. I'll email you something, an experience that I had, just to get your take on when you're leisure and stuff like that, in your busy schedule. Same thing that I look at it as well, right? Like, and it's at the point where you've had so many of these encounters, it's no longer, was it real? Like, literally you shifted into the realm of like, okay, this is real. Like, what is it? Right. And so that's the thing that, have you came across any people who have yet to make that leap yet? That will try to rationalize like, oh, you were just hearing things, or, you were sleepy, or you were tired, or whatever. And they don't ever really come on into the, to the realm of picking it up. Like,
right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of naysayers, and for people who have never experienced it, I get it, because it sounds like something, on TV or on a movie. But once you experience it, that changes things. You have to start thinking, okay, well, there is a spiritual world. What is it? Is it demonic? Is it some people, the mainstream narrative, I think, is that most people, or most ghost hunting shows or YouTube channels will say that it's the spirit of people who passed away. I totally disagree with that. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of naysayers, and to each their own.
You take hate for that, don't you? When you disagree with that, right? Saying it's other dead people, right? I mean, the Bible clearly says the dead don't speak, right? The Bible clearly says that, right? So, like, you're not talking to your mama. Like, like whatever's talking to you is not your mama, right? Like, whatever it's telling you, right? And that's the thing where I've had the most. I don't really argue too much with people who were like into the paranormal, right? I don't really go too much towards the paranormal. I brush up against it, right? Like, we're going to talk about that here in a second, man. I brush up against it, right? But like, I don't go unless I would have to go into like a place that I shouldn't be, right? To go in. I'll respect the boundaries on that as well, right? But yeah, I totally agree with you on that. It's not a memory of a living, a relative moved on. It's definitely something else. Especially again, if you could expound on like one more question before I take you in a totally different direction, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
Right? So would you say that was the pivotal case that got you into this? Is that the most haunting case, or was that the one that was the first one that ever really happened to you? Right? Like, what do you have one that just sticks in your mind more than others?
Well, I mean, I had many experiences. Again, some. Here's something I say all the time about the paranormal. I think a good majority of paranormal encounters probably are not paranormal at all. Our mind just sometimes tends to lean in that direction if we don't understand something, don't know what it is. Well, it's a ghost. But more often than not, it's probably not. But the thing that, I told you the thing that kind of got me interested, but the thing that really solidified to me that it was demonic was I had one of my best friends one night who is now, he was at the time a young kid, 16, 17. He's now a Kentucky State Trooper. I watched him almost, I won't say he was possessed, but I'd say he got an attachment. He was oppressed. And that was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine, man. Have you ever been physically assaulted by these beings going into a place before? People have sent me stories about like coming out with like 3 scratches on their back or something like that. Has that happened to you?
I've never been scratched, but I have been hit. I've had.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah. I've been hit. I've been touched. I've had things like I've been standing in front of doors that's like push back. It has a door stop very hard and it's just like break free and slam and hit me in the face. And,
wow.
Yeah, I've experienced a lot like that.
Are you still with this same department, or are you retired?
No, I'm still there. I'm I guess you could say the boss now, but I don't work much night shifts, but many night shifts.
Let the young guy. That's a young guy's job now, right? You get
yes,
that,
sir.
And that university's still in your jurisdiction. Huh? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
man. So yeah, man. I totally agree with you on that. Do you happen to know if it was any type of another question that people throw at me a lot is when I grew up in Upper East Tennessee, specifically in this area called Johnson City, we were actually having a conversation about Kingsport. Do you mind if I tell everybody a little bit? Like so this weekend, as it coming this weekend, he's actually heading down to Kingsport, right, for an event. You want to share that event real quick that you're going to be on?
Yeah, it's Smoky Mountain Terror. It's huge. It's massive. There's all kinds of a lot of actors from scary movies, horror movies, a lot of paranormal investigators at the Meadowview Convention Center. Excuse me. And they asked me to come down this year, so I'm going to be there for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week. And
So yeah, so I'm gonna drop this episode on Thursday. You guys see it Thursday night. So I have a pretty strong following at Upper East Tennessee. That so don't be surprised if somebody shows up and says they saw it there to talk on as well.
awesome.
But they talk a lot about the Cherokee burial grounds in Upper East Tennessee, right? And Upper East Tennessee, especially Johnson City, has and Kingsport as well, and Bristol have a lot of orb activity, right?
Right.
Have you ever experienced anything like that with these orbs in these houses or anything like that, or seen anything of that nature?
Oh, definitely. Orbs is, if you do it long enough, that's something you will definitely come in contact with. I will say I'm really skeptical of people send me pictures all the time. Look at this orb I captured. Most of the time it's dust or some kind of insect, but there are orbs. I actually captured one very early on when I started doing this on a Polaroid camera. That's how, if it tells you anything. We were in a basketball gym that was supposed to be haunted. We had a lot of stuff happen. I looked up at the ceiling and I seen a blue ball about the size of a golf ball. And there was two other guys with me and my brother being one of them. They didn't see it, but I had the camera. Actually, my brother had the camera and I said, take a picture right there. I pointed and I said, take a picture. And he snapped it, and it takes it a couple of minutes before you can see it. Sure enough, there was a blue golf ball sized orb near the ceiling.
Yeah, so that was when they ran out, right? I think it was the story you talked about where they bolted on you and you were left. Were you left by yourself there for that one?
Well, yeah, that's happened more than once. So that's happened a few times.
Right? Yeah, so the reason why I ask is I've done extensive research on these orbs. I actually was down in Costa Rica early this year doing an investigation, orb investigation near this volcano, right? And to this day, I don't know what they are. People send me these questions. I say that so much on my channel, right? Again, like I just feel that I have to be honest and upfront. What I can tell you, what I've noticed about these orbs is that the colors are often blue, orange, or white. Yep. They move with an intelligence, and they seem to be able to have a recognition of their surroundings and other orbs near them. And that's all I got. And I put hours and hours in these. I don't have any clue. I don't have any, I don't know what they are, right? But I do know, like, again, like I know there's something, right? Like they're there, right? I'm not seeing it, right? And that could have helped me segue into another passion of yours that you're really good at, is that you really, paranormal's activities, what's kind of got you into this line of work, but cryptids also, you're deep into the cryptid culture out there, right? As well. So
yeah.
Is that something that developed on its own, or do you have any experiences on that as well? Or did it come into, I mean, you were from, southeastern Kentucky, right? So you're right in that lane, right? So anything like that, what pulled you into that arena?
Well, I credit that again to my buddy Zach Hall. That's something that, like I've never seen Bigfoot. I've never really say I could see, I've never seen a cryptid, throughout the last couple years or so. I think once I started kind of investigating it, learning some of the things that are associated with Bigfoot, like bluff charges, tree knocks, that's things I have experienced in my life, but I at the time didn't associate it with a Bigfoot or anything like that. But I was always focused more on like what we would call hauntings or ghosts, until my buddy Zach, who worked on Finding Bigfoot, Expedition Bigfoot, and I got to know the guys from Expedition Bigfoot, Russell Acord, a good friend of mine. And they kind of started pulling me in that world. I always thought the possibility of them were real. I just hadn't seen it. And so I just kind of went down a rabbit hole when I started digging into that stuff as well.
I mean, you did grow up in the Appalachian mountain range, like I were talking about. So you're familiar with like the legends and the lores that go, involved with that, right? So, but what is your take on cryptids? I mean, from a law enforcement investigative guy, I mean, like real, not real, just a whole bunch of like, passed down stuff or what? Yeah,
and short answer, I don't know. But, that's something I think about a lot. And I try to look at these things, having been doing law enforcement for 26 years, your mind just kind of naturally thinks about anything, Bigfoot or whatever. You think with that same mindset, but I believe there's something out there. Now, here's my personal belief. Could there be a very intelligent, hairy, bipedal creature that we would call Bigfoot out there? Probably. Good possibility. But you'll also hear stories of people, reputable people, who say they've seen Bigfoot that almost teleported. Like they were here one moment and, a couple seconds later they were 100 feet away. Now, that's not biological. Biological things can't teleport. So I think there is a spiritual aspect. My best guess, I think while these flesh and blood creatures possibly exist, they're just highly elusive, super intelligent. But these demonic entities, I think, are just so deceiving. They will also mimic, say, Bigfoot. If you're interested in hunting Bigfoot, you'll see Bigfoot. I often say, if I go to a house that's haunted and there's a rumor of a one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater, eventually you'll see it. Have you ever heard the term egregore or egregore? Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Basically, you can manifest it, right? Like
Right.
if you think it long enough, you won't manifest it. Something will manifest it for you, right? Yeah. So.
Right. So I think that happens a lot. And I don't think it's, I don't think it's us manifesting it, but these things are flies on the wall and they know what we're looking for.
Yeah. That familiar spirit aspect of it, man, is legitimate. Right. And
Right.
I've done a lot of research into that as well. I've actually had guys on my show who have had, class A Bigfoot encounters, man. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of them as well, man. We were talking about that later, right?
Yeah.
Earlier, 8 feet away from a Bigfoot out of a hedgerow, right? And another one was have you ever met Harley Owens? Have you ever?
Yeah, I know Harley. Yeah, I know Harley.
Yeah, so Harley's a buddy of mine, right? Oh, it's a small world, right?
Yeah.
So has he ever told you that Dogman story about when he was down in Towson?
We've kind of touched on it, but not in depth, really.
Yeah. So I know guys that I trust, right? Like that I've had are you familiar with Mountain City?
I know
Tennessee?
of it. Yeah, I know of it.
So it's near Watauga Lake, right? So it's in the area down there, right?
Right.
Guys have sent me photos out of there, right? And also there was a couple people that have done camping trips up there, right? And they've encountered some strange things that were just hard to explain, right? In general, right?
Yeah.
And I've also had Bigfoot researchers that were respected in the community, right? Mm-hmm. And we've had very good conversations, but they declined to come on my show and talk about it because of what you just said, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think that. Could it be? Sure, man. The Appalachian mountain ranges is littered with caves. You know what I'm talking about. You in Kentucky up there, right? This is littered with caves, right?
Yeah.
But there is a spiritual aspect to these things. They call it the woohoo, right? Like it's the woohoo, right? But some guys just will flat out refuse to even entertain that, right? It's like, no, it's not. It's a Giganticus Pithecosaurus. And again, I tell people this all the time. He never that being existed, right? But it never set foot in North America. There's no skeletal remains of Giganticus Pithecosaurus ever being in the North Americas, right? They heard somebody else say that and they just regurgitated it down the way, right? Mm-hmm. But the conversations, we're still friendly, right? We're still friends, right? Right. Friendly, right? It wasn't disrespectful, but they won't come come and talk about their experiences because of that, right? Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with what you just said, is that what if it's something pretending to be, that, right? Like, and you're out there, right? And you just stumble across it, right? No. That's not true. No. This is what it is, right? This is where it slept last night, right here, right? And this is where it walked away. And I'm like, all right, man. So, okay. So yeah, you agree with that, right? Is that something that you subscribe to? I mean, you just gave your statements on that, right? Have you ever run into that problem out there before? Talking to people, just refuse to hear it?
Oh, yeah. I was a speaker at the Gatlinburg, the Bigfoot conference last year. And like you said, you meet people who, looks at it from 1,000 different angles. It's completely biological, the woo theory. Yeah. And, the way I feel about it is, and I say this in my videos sometimes, prove me wrong. It's not me just trying to sell everybody my version of the truth.
Right.
I want to know the truth. If you know something I don't, let's talk about it. That's how you learn and figure things out. And so that's why I went to the Bible when it come to paranormal. The Bible don't talk specifically about Bigfoot, Dogman, or Mothman, or what we call ghosts, but it does talk a lot about demons and, the devil is a liar and the father of it. I think it's a lot more black and white than what people, I think it's the same monster wearing a different mask. Like Scooby-Doo. How they catch the villain at the end, he'll wear 2 or 3 masks. I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that as well, man. And I've even had conversations like, this explains your body problem. This is why you see it and you never find it. No. It's they collect the dead. They do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, look, bro, I said, I actually have a gentleman coming on the show in September. He wrote a book. I don't want to steal his thunder. I want to talk to him. But he had a Bigfoot encounter in Alabama at night with his son, right? But prior to that, he saw 2 orbs, big softball-sized blue orbs in the trees. The sun was down, right? It was dark, right? But later on that night, him and his son are getting accosted inside of a cabin where there's something that he says are Bigfoots banging on the door. But like we just talked about right there, was it? I mean, but I have heard people from, I don't know if you ever heard of stories out of like Washington State about people seeing orbs, and then like what you just said, then all of a sudden there's a Bigfoot standing there.
Yep.
And then it's gone the next minute, and then there's another one's popping up. There's definitely there's a connection. We don't know what the connection is, right? Well, that's a fair way to say it, right? Yeah. Right. But yeah. And so moving into the whole, growing up in the Appalachian mountain range and the stuff as well, and talking about the folklore that goes up and down there. I would just, this is a total fanboy question, man. What is your favorite piece of Appalachian folklore, man? You talk about some really good stuff, man, like some really good stuff on your channel.
Oh, that's a good question. One that probably the one that people ask me about the most is, why don't you ever respond if something calls your name, like out in the mountains, or why don't you whistle, and I have heard things like that. I've heard things when I've been out hunting or fishing by myself, things say my name. And, my belief is, I think they're just trying to lure you further and further off the beaten path. To what end, who knows? But there's so many, a lot of it, you may chalk it up as just folklore, grandma, grandpa told me not to do this or that, close your curtains. But I think that, the old timers got it right most of the time. They knew something was up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, that's a great way to put it, man. When I was growing up, me and my cousin, we used to hang out a lot. We'd go into the woods, right? I never heard anybody call my name, but there was something that you put out on your channel. I have heard bells, like wind chimes. Right. When I was in the woods before and as a kid, and I'm like, my cousin heard it too. Like, what is that, man? I was like, I don't know, like some ring, but we would just kept on playing, man. We didn't even know any better, just kept on like ignoring it. But when I was like 17 years old, I was getting ready to graduate like high school. Like, we had a buddy who was a avid deer hunter. I wasn't really like into that stuff, man, but he asked me and another friend he had like baseball practice or something like that, man, or whatever. He wanted us to go and like put this salt, like a salt lick, like in this area, right? And his, where he's going to be going out there. So my buddy drove, we got out there and I got out of the car, man. He told me exactly where to go, man. I went in those woods, dude, to drop that down there. I just got hit with like this overwhelming sense of like just fear, like this irrational fear just hit me out of like nowhere, right? I dropped that salt, man. I broke out of that. I broke out of those woods, man. Ran back to the cars. And my buddy driving was this guy named Smokey, man. So Smokey, if you ever see this, man, I'm telling our story, man. I jumped in the car. I was like, yo, man, get what? And I was like, get us the F out of here, bro. I was like, what? He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I have no idea, man. But like something there's something in there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's going in the woods. Have you ever had anything like that happen to you before when you were out in the woods or something
yeah.
like that? You want to share that with us?
Yeah, I mean, that's happened a number of times. Like you said, I've been out in the woods, bright, beautiful, sunny days. You're not thinking about scary stuff, spooky stuff.
Yeah, right.
But just the whole atmosphere changes. A heaviness falls, a sense of dread. I think it's that sixth sense that's built into us. Like we know when we're just in the presence of something, call it evil or wrong or otherworldly, whatever you want to call it. But you definitely pick up on that. And yeah, I've experienced that in the forest. I've experienced it in buildings, houses.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, I've never been to the part of Kentucky where you're at, but when I was growing up in Upper East Tennessee, man, do you have a lot of 100-plus-year-old, 200-year-old houses up in that area where they go? Those,
Oh, yeah.
again, man, when I was growing up, man, I thought to myself, like, I used to think that, I don't think this anymore, man. I used to think, like, that's the goal right there, man. I want this 2-bedroom, this 2-story white pillar house. You couldn't pay me to live in one of those now, man. I've never seen one that wasn't haunted, man. Like there's this neighborhood in Upper East in Johnson City called the Tree Streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of houses like that, right? Super, super, super freaking haunted, man. Like my aunt used to live there, and she told me some stories sometimes that she would sit in her porch at night and just watch orbs walk up and down the steps of this house that was across the street, right? She had a next door neighbor was this Asian kid who got into the medical program at East Tennessee State University, right? I have a pretty good medical program, right? He lived in the house next to her for like 3 weeks, and he abandoned it.
Oh, wow.
It was so haunted. He just left. He just don't know where he went. Whatever. He just told her, "I'm never coming back. I'm leaving." He just left. I have no idea to this day. They have no idea. Like, did he finish school? Like, how far away did he go? Right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome, man. Another thing you were talking about too is that how the old timers got it right back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I have this saying I say a lot on my show about, ignore Native American folklore like at your own peril, right?
Right.
And have you ever looked into any of these Native American folklore stories up in Kentucky or any areas around there? Period, like, or anywhere actually.
Well, I mean, I've heard a lot, stories. You hear, especially a lot of things associated with Native American, as you know, there's a lot of lore, a lot of hauntings, sightings. But I've not specifically encountered that or had any experience. But, one reason I think the old timers got it right and the Native Americans, there's a lot of these folklore stories come past through the years. Life is fragile now, but, 200 years ago, a simple cut could take you out. So, I think these guys were on top of just like, you had to be on alert extra hard. Now we lock our doors, we go to bed.
Right.
Back then you didn't have the protection. You didn't have cell phones. You didn't have a door to lock, probably in most cases. So I think they just learned how to survive, and they knew that there was other things out there other than flesh and blood, creatures. There's spiritual world's very real.
Yeah. I mean, so I just did totally. It's totally beer. And there was no light pollution back there as well. And there was no 911. That's what I try to tell people, like that no one was coming to save you. Right. Like, so there was if it went down, man, you had to handle it. Right. And so I think that has a lot to do with it as well. I just did a show, a couple episodes back where I was talking about the 2022 floods that hit Kentucky. Right.
Yeah.
And, some people had sent me these stories to look into them, and they were trying to say that this happened in during the Western North Carolina floods that happened like a couple years ago. And I was like, so I looked into it and I'm like, no, that's not true. But these stories did happen in the Kentucky 2022 flood. They were just, overlapping them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an army base up there called Fort Belvoir. Is that, did I get that right? Is that in Kentucky by chance?
That rings a bell.
So people started sending me stories out of Fort Belvoir and the surrounding areas talking about Kentucky goblins, right? Like, have you ever heard, is that something you're familiar with to talk about as well, to share that a little bit? I mean, that episode is going crazy right now on my channel, right? And I was hesitant to cover it first. I was like, all right, guys, man, like how far is this rabbit hole going? And it's turned out to be one of the most documented sightings reporting period, right? So do you have any knowledge about that?
A little bit, and I'm terrible with names, but yeah, that happened in Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
It did happen in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. But,
yeah, in the 1950s, maybe some.
Well, so the Hopkinsville encounter did happen in 1951 or 55, right?
Yeah.
But the Kentucky Goblin one happened in 2022. But they were describing the exact same things, right? Like, so
Right.
the Hopkinsville ones, they originally attributed to. They said it was aliens, right? And it was this big shootout that took place on that ranch, right?
Right.
But when I covered that story, I had me and one of my co-hosts were, and I said to him, I was like, these don't sound like aliens to me. This is like some kind of like cryptid behavior. Like these are like, little beings, right? But the Kentucky Goblins that were reported in 2022, people were saying that they were driven out of the caves by like these floods. They also call them Tommy knockers or whatever, right? So little mine elves or something like that. They used to warn like these coal miners about collapses down there, right? So, yeah, I mean, if you ever, that might be something you should take a look into, man. Like there's a couple paramedics that were gave stories about it as well, and some other locals. A lady was doing some on the ground investigation up there to look at it as well. So, yeah, it's pretty
definitely.
good, man. So,
yeah, I'm not familiar with the 2022 one. Now, where I live was one of the counties in the 2022 that was hit the hardest. Like, it was a bad time. And, but no, I wasn't aware of a more recent. The Hopkinsville one I was very familiar with, but the new one I was not.
Bro, this is right. This is right up your alley, man. So the story, to give you, like, there's a lot of reports, right? But there's one of them that actually a couple of them that stood out. That I thought to myself was like, man, that's odd. One of them was that the floods were so bad that Tennessee sent volunteers north into Kentucky, right? Because we share a border. If you don't know, I have people that watch my channel from all over the planet. So he's from Kentucky, so I'm from Tennessee. So our states actually share the long border together, right? And in 2022, there was catastrophic flooding that took place in Kentucky, right? Where haulers were funneling water down or whatever, and it was really, really bad. The whole towns got wiped out, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so, like, at least tragically, like 40 plus people lost their lives in the debris and stuff.
Yeah.
So a paramedic was driving up from Tennessee, and he was crossing up there. His original job was to run food and water.
Yeah.
So he loaded up one of his, they loaded up one of the, not an actual ambulance, but they loaded up like a crash truck or something, right? And he just ran these supplies back and forth from Tennessee to Kentucky. But then he got up there after the things were slowly starting to slow down. Like, and they asked him if he would, help them with search and rescue on some of these, washed out back roads. I tried to explain to some people, maybe you can help me out a little bit. Then the areas that we grew up, roads could just disappear. Like, the people don't understand that, right? Like, they're just, they're there 1 minute and then they're just not, they're gone. Right. And that was the only road going into like a certain area. Right. And you have to literally sometimes get those big, earth movers and cut a road into the side of the mountain. Would you agree with that, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, definitely.
Yeah. And so they couldn't get down all these roads, and this guy was going down this road and he saw something in the off to the side of the road. He thought it was a kid, right? And it wasn't moving. He was like, oh, so worst case scenario, man. He's like, oh no, like his heart hit dread, right? Like worst case scenario, right? So he gets out, he stops, he gets out, he goes around, and he looks at it, he starts walking to it, and it's not a kid, right? He described it as looking like Dobby the house elf from like the Harry Potter stuff, right? And he freaks out. And so he's like, and the whole time he's working with a little crew, right? So he tells them what's going on, and they're like, put a pin in it, we'll come back, keep driving, maybe it's an animal or something like that or whatever. It's not a kid, just go. He drives the rest of the way. Nothing happens, nothing finds it, comes. And so his plan is like, he's going to go to his buddy's house, get his buddy, come back. He goes to his buddy's house that night, and he is out in the back. He's laying down in the back of his pickup truck, And as he's in the back of his pickup truck, he looks over in the tree line. He sees another one that's about he described it being about 3 feet tall, right? Just standing there, right? And it had on clothes. And he's listening to like how they'll commandeer a radio station, like giving updates. He's listening to the updates on the radio station. And it starts, some type of interference starts happening with the radio. And he gets on the cell phone and he texts his buddy. He's like, hey, man, that thing I saw is here. It's in the trees, right? And his buddy's like, all right, I'm on my way. His buddy's in there loading up his 30-06, right, to come out. As soon as the buddy opens up the door, the guy jumps up out of the truck and the thing just is gone, right? It's just gone, right? Wow. And then the radio clears up as well. I mean, I'm telling you, man, this is right in your backyard, man. It's a 2022 flood elves. I'll send you the link to the thing I did on my channel, and you can take a look at it as well, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But other people were talking about, you had other, during that time is pure mayhem, right?
Yeah.
But afterwards, when things were calming down, other people were talking about how they were seeing strange looking creatures like on the side of the roads, and while they were looking for survivors, right? So yeah, man. It's really, really wild, man. And it opened my eyes up to Kentucky, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. I didn't know Kentucky had. I have a word on my channel called fiduciary, right? Like I use it when I don't want to cuss, right? Fiduciary, right?
Right.
Kentucky's full of fiduciary, man. Y'all got some strange stuff going on up there, bro. But what shocked me the most too is that the amount of soldiers from Fort Belvoir started emailing me saying, bro, we see these things all the time when we're running at 4 a.m. Literally, they sent this to me, man. Literally, right? Like, you would be shocked at what you've seen it, right? But yeah, man, the Kentucky flood goblins, man, and the working hypothesis is that flood, man, when it hit those caves and those hollers, man, whatever was in there just cleaned them out, man, and they ended up on the street, man. Yeah, it's pretty wild, bro. So yeah, do you have any local stories like that, strangest specific to Kentucky?
And I don't know if I can top that one. That's wild. That's kind of mind blowing. Something that I've just kind of started looking into over the past year or two is a lot of people are familiar with Mammoth Cave, which is the largest cave system in the world, and it's located in western Kentucky. And there are still hundreds of miles that have not been explored. Like, they don't know how far it goes, honestly. And when you think of that massive of a area underground, dude, you don't know what's under there. I mean, like me personally, I've never seen anything like that, but it's just so weird to describe for people who's never been to Appalachia. I tell a lot of people think I'm just trying to scare them out of here, but 9 times out of 10, if you come here, nothing's going to happen. Now, there's snakes and wildlife you have to be aware of, but man, these mountains are just so mysterious. Like, there's those moments that you just don't have words how to describe it accurately.
No, you are so accurate, right? Like I mean, like 6 months ago, the scientific community dubbed the Appalachian mountain range, man, the oldest mountain range on the planet. Yeah. Right, the planet, right? Yeah. And they've said that the caves that they thought ended in Georgia actually end up, in Alabama. I'm telling you, those caves go down to Louisiana too. I'm telling you, right? And if you've never been to the wilderness in Kentucky or Upper East Tennessee or, West Virginia, it's not the blue trail that you hike. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is a whole nother beast. And at night, it's a whole nother world. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when it gets dark, man, it's wild, right? So totally correct on that, man. So when you also mentioned that your Christian faith plays a major role into how you interpret these cryptids and these, especially your paranormal experiences on there as well. Have you ever drawn any conclusions between possible, like, biblical connections, right? How it talks about how the Watchers came down and made these Nephilim, and they did any stuff like that. They made these creations, right? Like, have you ever drawn any conclusions on that on your own?
Well, I haven't personally researched a lot. I'm familiar with a lot of those theories, and I've talked to a lot of people who are much well versed in that than I am. And is it possible? Yeah, I mean, one way or another, I think they're connected biblically somehow. Nephilim or watchers, demons, angels, however you want to, whatever verbiage you want to use. Like, I think they're definitely spiritual, and that's why I say this often, that you have to be so on point, like paying attention, especially if you're, I see a lot of these people who are what they call ghost hunters, who, I'm not saying I'm an expert by no means. I've been around, I've seen a lot, but especially younger kids who's like, I'm a ghost hunter because it's popular on YouTube, Sam and Colby, not anything against those guys, but people don't really realize, I think, the dangers that lie sticking your nose in some places you have no business sticking your nose.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, I got a little off topic there. Sorry.
No, I'm actually gonna bring you back to that. I want to pick your brain on that for more in a second, man.
Okay, so, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I haven't personally researched that a lot, but I'm open to the idea of it because I believe it is connected in some manner.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like how you phrased what you just talked about, how sticking your nose in places where you're ill equipped to go to, right? Have you ever experienced or known anybody that experienced this phenomenon called the hitchhiker effect, where they go somewhere they're not supposed to be, like, ghost hunting or whatever, and whatever was in there, they bring it back with them? Have you ever seen that go down?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know lots of people. I've had friends have that happen to them. I personally have never had it happen that I'm aware of. But yeah, that certainly does happen. And I think that's one reason a lot of people say I'm like a broken record, because in a good majority of my videos, I talk about the dangers of dealing with these demonic entities. People think just because something don't happen immediately that it's not going to happen, but they just sit and watch. They wait, they listen, they just waiting for that right time or perfect moment.
No, you're right. Like, people should listen to what you're saying, because you're right. I call them lawyers, right? I call them lawyers. So the moment, because God blessed us with free will, right? The moment you inadvertently or, think it's funny and you invite something like that into your existence, they'll show up, right?
Yeah.
And they are extremely difficult to get rid of. And, you, especially 26 years of law enforcement, man, there's physical ramifications that these things that they will hurt you given the opportunity, right? Like you said, doors slamming in your face or whatever. Yeah. And that's the thing that I mean, do you get a lot of pushback, or people saying, no, you're making too much of this, when you try to warn them about that type of stuff?
Yeah, sometimes, I have had a lot of people who say, you've kind of opened my eyes. I had never considered that or whatever. And that's one reason I am so vocal about this, because what you just mentioned, you see in a lot of these ghost hunting shows, they will say, use my energy to manifest whatever. And I think that's so dangerous. When I go into a haunted location, I'm not there to investigate. I know it's not. If it's, for instance, if you're in an abandoned asylum, I know it's not a patient who died there.
Yeah.
But I think that it's so dangerous for the people who fall into that mainstream narrative and believe that they're communicating with a spirit of a child or a deceased person. So when I go into these places, I'm not trying to prove it's haunted. I'm trying to hopefully prove that it's not what you think it is. So you need to be extremely careful.
No, I mean, you're brave, dude. I'm not going in those places.
I don't know about that, but
yeah, no, I'm not. Like I said, man, I'm the guy you call, man. Like, if something's going down, right, and like it's 20-2, and you need, and I got your back, right? I'm on your way. But if you call me and tell me, man, that your kid's walking on the ceiling and your wife is speaking Latin, man, I'm hanging up on you, dog. I'm not built for that. I'm not built for that life, right? To go into.
I get it.
So, what is the most haunted place you think you've ever been to in your investigations or heard about or anything like that? Not that I'm encouraging people to go there by no means, but like you have a lot of time in the field, right? So what?
Right. Oh, good question. The place that comes to mind, even though I wasn't there for a long period of time, but A place that when I stepped onto the property, I could feel the heaviness of it is in a little town called Princeton, West Virginia, Lake Shawnee, abandoned amusement park. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Mm-mm.
Um, it's wild. There's a lot of dark, kind of sad history that's associated. It was a very popular amusement park. A few different times throughout the last few decades, it would open up, tragedy would happen, someone would die. There were children who were killed there. And back to your point of the Indian burial grounds, I think it was in the 90s, the owner was doing some excavation and dug up some bones. They brought in people, scientists, whatever, from Marshall University right down the road. And they estimated, they come in and done a huge excavation, and they estimated there to be hundreds of bodies there, Indian. It's an Indian burial ground. But the moment I stepped on this property, I was there. They had a paranormal convention. I was a speaker there last year.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I mean, like, I didn't experience anything that was just like life changing, but I've never had a place that I could feel that kind of dark energy, however you want to call it, word it. But dude, I don't know that there's been so many places. I've been to haunted places in Florida. My wife and I experienced something there back when we were just dating 20 years ago. But all throughout Appalachia, I've been to countless locations, and they all never disappoint, I guess, or maybe they do disappoint, depending on what you're looking for or not looking for. Yeah. But this whole area, man, it's just riddled with so much.
Do you think you're gifted in that area? Like, when I say gifted, I'm talking about, like, you seem to be like, you're very sensitive to these type of things, right?
Right.
And I know people who I could throw a poltergeist that hit them on the head, and they would not even see it, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, some people just have that, like, I mean, do you think that that describes you, who you are?
I mean, people have asked me that. I don't profess to be a sensitive. I will say I can pick up on things sometimes, but I don't think it's like a gift, like a psychic or a medium. I think it's discernment. You know, the Bible talks about when you become a Christian, you get gifts, discernment, different things. You know, there's a whole list. I don't think it's anything that I've done or a gift that I have. If anything, it's just something that the Lord's just let me be sensitive to, you know, or in the presence of something that is not good.
Man, that comes in handy being law enforcement, right?
Well, I tell people all the time, I mean, you know, you got a lot of tools in law enforcement on your belt, but your gut, I think, is the best feeling or the best tool that you have. Right. Like, your gut will let you know when you're in a bad situation 9 times out of 10.
Has it ever saved your life? I mean, like, in the paranormal investigations, have you ever felt like something like, hey, just get out of here right now? Is that something that's told you to leave, or you always felt pretty confident?
There has been places I've left. Yeah. Like, I knew, even if it was just for a few minutes, like, I've been in areas or in a house or a building and just known, like, I need to take a break. I need to step away for a few minutes. And I do.
This was investigation or just going to lunch?
Most of the time it's been during an investigation, but I mean, I have been working and had to go through some of these places, you know, at 3 a.m. by myself, and that feeling will hit, you know, and sometimes nothing, you know, it feels comfortable like you're at home sitting on the couch, but then there's just those other times, there's just this oppressive energy or whatever you want to call it. You know, a lot of people, you know, again, I want to emphasize, I'm not psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm not one of those people. I can't read your future. I could just, I can feel when I'm in the presence of something evil, if that makes sense, I guess.
No, for sure. So, I mean, like, you said you were getting this as early as 4 years old and like 13, right? You said, Do you want to share that, or?
Yeah. My first encounter I was 4. I was at my grandmother's house. She used to babysit my cousin and I. He's the same age. And we were at her house one day, beautiful, bright, sunny day. She had taken us out on the porch to play because my aunt at the time, she worked night shift. She still lived at home, and she was just, I guess, trying to keep us from waking her up.
Right.
And it's still kind of early in the morning, probably, I'm guessing 9, 10 a.m. We're on the porch playing. And there was a specific toy that we wanted from inside the house. My grandma kept a big, huge toy box at the bottom of her stairs. It was a 2-story house. And it was mainly just used for storage upstairs. Nobody ever really went up there much. But I volunteered to go in and get this toy. It was a ball. And so I walk in the house. I remember trying to be quiet so I didn't wake my aunt up. And I get to the stairs and I'm leaning over, rummaging through this toy box. And I remember the hairs standing up on my neck. And I instinctively knew to look up to my left. And when I did, there was a man standing there. I always say kind of like the Monopoly man. He looked like he stepped off the Titanic. A well-tailored suit, like Victoria era style, top hat, monocle, thin gray beard. He had his hands on the rails, just leaned over looking at me. And I locked eyes with him. He didn't move. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me. And as I tell that story, I get chills running down my body. And, you know, it seemed like I stood there for a minute, but literally probably a few seconds. And I ran outside. But that's something that has stuck with me for 45 years now.
Man, I mean, yeah, right. Like, so, I mean, at an early age, man, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're gifted, bro. Like I said, man, I know you don't want to come out there and say that you have that, you're a psychic. You never claimed to be in that stuff as well, but it's like your discernment, man. When I build my next house, man, I'm going to have you come down and just walk around that bad boy. Just walk around the property before I start pouring concrete down there. Like, what's the scariest one you've ever heard, man? And unless you just said it, because that's pretty scary what you just said, man.
You mean a personal experience or just a story I've heard?
Heard anything, personal experience, anything.
Well, you know, the scariest thing that I witnessed is what I touched on it a while ago was when I seen my friend almost become possessed one night to the point where his eyes turned black. Not like Hollywood Exorcist black, but blacker than normal. He had no recollection of the event. This went on for about 20 minutes or so. But we having to pray over him and get him outside this location. And it's like he just snapped out of a trance. And, you know, I know telling that story like that doesn't sound scary, but being there and witnessing it, he had seen this face. He called it a devil face. Probably 10 minutes prior to this happening, he kept saying he'd seen a face that was made out of smoke with the horns, the way, you know, they portray the devil in cartoons. He's like, I keep seeing it in front of my face. I'm like, you know, it's your eyes playing tricks on you. It was dark. I was like, it'll go away. And he was scared, terrified, didn't want to be there anyway. But he just totally, I don't know. It was crazy.
And needless to say, that's the last time he went on a hunt with you guys, right?
I'm sure it probably was, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Man. Hey, so real quick, Brandon, before we wrap up here, please tell everybody where they can find you, man, on your amazing locations real quick.
Yeah, definitely. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook as the Supernatural Sleuth. I share YouTube. I go in a little more detail usually on some of these stories and get the short version on some of the other ones, but I have all those platforms and it would mean a lot if you guys give me a follow.
Yeah, guys. So all that information will be in the description of the video when this drops this Thursday. I'm going to move this up in the production schedule, get it out on Thursday so you can go meet him and hang out with him in Kingsport Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well. Also, too, I will be following him on all those platforms. I'll already follow him on a few, but if I don't follow that many people, because like I say, kind of a snob. So if you're looking for the easy way, go over there, click who I follow, and you'll see him down there, the Supernatural Sleuth on there. His content is amazing. Do not watch it at night because unless you just like to be freaked out or whatever and come through it as well. Also, you know how we do around here this time, Enigmites? Do us a favor. Give us a subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. I don't really talk about that too much, but you guys jump in there and do it. Doesn't cost you anything, but it makes me feel cool. Also, well, if you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down and get in the comments, and I'll tell you how big of a loser you are for not liking this video, because that was a pretty amazing story on that. Also, as well, guys, go give this guy a follow, man. His platforms are amazing, and I tell you what, he has some really, really good stories on there to do, and like I said, I try to bring on unique individuals when I can get them on here, all the people I bring on are pretty unique, actually. But his storytelling style is pretty awesome and it's pretty amazing. So, Brandon, man, I want to thank you for coming on. And you have to agree to come back, man, because I'm going to introduce some people on here, man, and I know they're going to want to get you to talk about some stuff as well.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's been awesome. Just have me back anytime and I'll be here.
All right, so you guys got him on tape. So, but you know how we do around here, nerds? That's all you guys get for $1. And we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.